What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Nope. There's no more to that. That's just the whole title of the movie. We're going to talk about Nope, the newest Jordan Peele film hitting theaters this weekend. Well, I guess by the time you're listening to this, it's the past weekend. So, but you can still see it this coming weekend. And if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hey everyone, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We hope you're having a great day. We hope you're having a great night, whatever time you listen to this. We hope you're just having a great time. And I, not to spoil my thoughts, but I certainly had a great time talking about the movie that we're going to talk about, but we're going to hold that for a little bit later. Alex, Jerome, how y'all doing? Jerome, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm excited. San Diego Comic-Con has started, and then also recently in the mail last week or this week, I got my passes for Emerald City Comic-Con. So for all those of you who are listeners who are in the Seattle area or going to be in the Seattle area for Emerald City Comic-Con, you might see me there. I'll be there Thursday and Friday. So yeah. But also just San Diego Comic-Con is exciting. Apparently, we're supposed to be getting a lot of Marvel news. I'm not holding my breath because, I'm not going to be one of those comic book people that it's like, oh, Marvel news. Oh, they're going to be announcing X-Men. Oh, they're going to be talking about, all the new stuff. I don't care. Whatever they show is what they show. At this point, I've gotten so much Marvel content. I am Marveled out. I will just accept whatever they give me.
Marveled out. Coming 2023 to Disney Plus.
Honestly, the most exciting thing though to come out of Comic-Con for me so far is the Dungeons and Dragons trailer finally dropped. The movie. They've been working on a movie. I've been hearing about this movie forever, and I honestly forgot they were making it until I saw the trailer this morning, and it looks awesome. Alex, you'd be really excited. Chris Pine plays the Bard. So
yeah, no, trust me, I've already seen that. It's been all over my TikTok. I told you I have a weird amount of D&D stuff on my TikTok.
Yeah, so I'm excited. It looks good. It looks fun, which I'm glad because I'm that's what Dungeons and Dragons is. It's not the very serious fantasy stuff. If you want to watch that, the Lord of the Rings trailer also came out. That's the serious fantasy story if you want that. This is the fun fantasy stuff, and I dig it. So I can't wait to see it. It looks way better than I thought it was going to be because there's been a Dungeons and Dragons movie and it was terrible. So it's glad to see this one. Looks like it's a lot more fun.
I will also be at Comic-Con. I will be there actually all 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. And if you are in the area and you do want to meet us, you'll also meet my sister. She will be there, I think, a little bit on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you've heard me talk shit about her. You're welcome to meet her too. And the reason Jerome said I would be excited that Chris Pine is playing the Bard is because in our D&D game that we will soon be streaming, I am a Bard. I am a Dragonborn Bard. And I didn't realize the alliteration with that. Damn it. Fair. I fell into it. Damn it. But I'm excited to play that and, excited for what's coming with Comic-Con. I've always had a good time. Last year wasn't that great, but it was when they had just reopened from COVID and the pandemic and everything. So it looks like they have a sturdy list, and Brendan Fraser's going to be there. I want to get a picture with him. Love that man. So I'm super excited about the...
Like I said, my teacher's going to be there, so I get to meet her. I've met her in person before, but I'll actually get to, hang out with her. Oh, that's right.
I get to meet some of Jerome's Milestone Initiative friends.
Oh, hey.
Jerome told me I had to be
I don't know who's coming yet or not right now. It's kind of up in the air, but some of them said they might be there, so we will see.
I was told to be nice for at least 2 hours.
No, not for 2 hours. I told you be nice in general. You had.
Is that going to be a strenuous task? That means yes.
No, no. I mean, but anyway, Jonathan, how are you? How are you doing? Let's get off.
I'm doing good. If anyone's watching the video version and you see me kind of looking off screen, it's because I'm currently looking at my dog, who for some reason, unbeknownst to me, is dragging his blanket off of his bed and chewing on it, and now it's halfway to the desk. So yeah, I'm just watching that. I don't know why he's doing that, but yeah, that's the situation right now. But the situation last week, I watched Where the Crawdads Sing, the movie
I know you were
that
excited
just
for that
released.
film.
Yeah, it was just like the book. It
Let's
was
say, yeah, give us your little mini review. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you not
okay.
like it?
I enjoyed it. There were no surprise. I'd read the book in 2020, and there were no real when I read the book, it was enjoyable. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing literature. It was an enjoyable book, so I was like, okay, this is going to be an enjoyable movie, and it was. It wasn't anything mind blowing. It was pretty standard. Something that I think um, an 11th grade literature class might show when at the end of the year, when it's just they have a couple days left and they got time to kill, so they'll put on a movie. They'll put on Where the Crawdads Sing. But it's a good movie. I recommend it if you just want to go out and catch a good movie.
Just looking at the summary of the book, it seems like something I would have read in high school. Like,
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
That's a interesting.
I mean, takes place in the 1960s. It's basically about a girl. She lives in the marsh in North Carolina or South Carolina.
Ugh.
No, it's North Carolina.
Who would want to live in any of the Carolinas?
How dare you?
She lives in a marsh in North Carolina. She's basically from a young age. She was like she grew up on her own in this house. Her dad was abusive, and she gets framed for this boy's murder. And the whole story is like, did she do it? Did she not do it? And so on and so forth. So, yeah, I recommend watching it.
That sounds like it sounds like something you definitely. It's eventually going to make its way in slowly into classrooms. Honestly, because it sounds like
like
interesting
White
writing.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Kind of, yeah. So, today, we are going to be reviewing Jordan Peele's highly anticipated third feature film. Well, that he's directed, produced, and written, called Nope. Is this movie called Nope? Yep.
Yes.
Is it not called Nope? Nope.
No.
Anyway, this movie, if you don't know, it is about the residents of a lonely gulch in inland California who bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. Basically, if you have not listened to one of our film reviews before, what we do is at first we go through our non-spoiler thoughts. So we'll just talk about, did we like the movie? Did we not like it? Then we'll warn you and go into all of our inner thoughts about this movie. So does anybody have any first off thoughts that they want to get out?
Well, I will say this real quick. I didn't like the movie Us, and I've said that before. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast. I didn't like the movie Us. Thought it was kind of boring and kind of like, whatever. It felt very generic. Felt like a very generic horror film thriller, and it was very easy to plot the points or point the plots in the film and stuff. And I was almost prepared for this movie to be like that. Thankfully, I was so wrong. This movie ended up being so good. And in fact, multiple times, because I wear an Apple Watch. And multiple times my Apple Watch is like, hey, you haven't really moved, but your heart rate keeps accelerating. And it did that throughout the entire film. At points I had to be like, all right, my watch keeps beeping at me. I gotta breathe or something. So it ended up just being so good. All the actors in there, and just the way he did the big reveal, because we all know it's an alien movie, because in the second trailer they show the little flying thing. um the way he did the big reveal of it was amazing. I didn't expect it to go the way he did, and I was so caught off that I was even like, wait, what? Usually it's I can figure things out, especially with like horror and sci-fi movies, because I watch a crap ton of those. He again did it so well. I was surprised, and I was surprised, honestly. And I again did not go into this movie expecting to like it as much as I did, and I left. I was like, wow, I loved it. It left a lasting impression, and just the amount of times they do say nope during the film felt real, because there is a particular scene, and I will say it during the spoiler parts, where the main character goes nope, and before that, me and my sister both said nope. Like we said it, and then the character said it, and we're like, oh, we feel a little called out.
Yeah.
It was like funny, but yeah, I ended up loving the movie far more than I was prepared to. So,
And you also you mentioned the cast and how great of a job they did. I didn't mention the cast, but it stars Daniel Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, and Stephen Yeun,
yeah,
among others. Brandon Perea is also heavily featured in it as well. So yeah, shout out to the cast as well.
Brandon Pierre's character, so funny. I like him. He's a little weird guy.
Same.
A weird guy. But I enjoyed it. I ended up enjoying his character a lot more too than I thought I would.
Yeah. Jerome, your thoughts on the film?
I thought this movie was good, but I did have issues with it minorly. And
Was
it's
it the
not so much
CGI?
with no, the CGI was fine. It was the like I feel like there's a lack of characterization in this movie for a few of the characters. Um and this movie left me confused. I had to like watch other people break down this movie to explain a few like things just because it's like there's so many ideas in this film and some of them just feel like they get dropped like without any explanation behind them. But at the same time, it's a really thrilling movie. There are multiple times where I was on the edge of my seat, like waiting for what was going to happen next. I think our main cast do a great job. I really enjoyed Kiki Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya. I think they have really decent chemistry, despite their dynamic was a bit weird, and I'll get into in the spoilers. But despite that weird dynamic of of their characters in the movie, they as actors just have great chemistry with each other. Um, so it's like overall, I like the movie. It's just like minor things that I didn't uh or what I wasn't as into. Same thing with Us too. But I do to that point, I do appreciate Jordan Peele though making interesting movies because like Get Out is like a tight solid film, but you could tell Get Out took him probably like years to write and make versus Us and this movie feel like they didn't take as much time as Get Out to write because of how airtight Get Out is compared to those two scripts. And yet I have a lot more fun watching these movies like Us and Nope than I did watching Get Out. Granted, Get Out's more of like a straight horror film, and this is more like a suspense thriller, like with adventure elements to it, but still.
What about you,
For
Jonathan? What do you
me,
think?
I okay, so minor backstory. I just watched this less than 2 hours ago. I got out of the movies. So my thoughts are extremely fresh. Well, you guys just watched it last night, so they're still fresh as well. Um,
Yeah, I
I
watched it
haven't.
today and came in
Oh,
fresh.
Oh, so I'm the only one that watched it yesterday.
so I haven't seen any other takes about it. I've seen like the Rotten Tomato score and a few headlines about it as well, and other like chitter chatter here and there from friends. But from my own opinion, I loved this movie. Um, Jordan Peele I think he's gonna be that person that can do no wrong in my eyes. Like every movie that he makes going forward will probably be my most anticipated movie of the year and will probably be my favorite movie of the year. If I, in an alternate universe, was a filmmaker and could and had this knowledge of Jordan Peele movies and could create my own movies, say like like say Jordan Peele didn't exist or whatever. We don't want that to happen, but say Jordan Peele didn't exist, but I had this wealth of information to all his movies. I would want to create these movies, and not just for the profit, but because these are the type of movies that like I am so invested in for whatever reason. I think because of the Alex, you look
Oh
puzzled.
no, it's that it's like that movie with the guy who only had the knowledge of the Beatles song.
Yeah,
Oh,
yesterday.
yes,
Yeah,
yesterday. I saw
yesterday.
that. Yeah.
I've been meaning to.
So
I heard it's a good movie.
if this was a yesterday situation,
It's
then
yeah. Yesterday bothered me only because I was like, you're not acknowledging the rules of this universe. Because if the Beatles didn't exist, there's a lot of artists that wouldn't exist, like
it's
because they
true.
would not be inspired to make music at all. And
It's
those
true.
artists are in the movie, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that person would not be there.
Going back to Nope, I opened a can of
Anyway.
worms I didn't want to.
But yeah, I loved the movie. I loved the thing I was excited about a year ago because he announced the title of the movie literally 1 year ago from when the movie was released. And I was excited from the title, from the cast. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I love Kiki Palmer. I want the best for her in everything that she
You'll
does. So
love
I was
Kiki
excited.
Palmer. You are like Kiki Palmer, like an extension from her by osmosis.
At this point, might as well be. Um,
In all fairness, I'm the way with Steven Yen. Like I watch all his. I love Steven Yen.
He's amazing
Yep.
too.
Like I got the Twilight Zone. I think it was on Paramount or wherever it was on, just to watch.
Yeah, it's on
Steven Yeun.
CBS Plus, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, just to see that man in a suit. Very nice. Go on, Jonathan.
The way you said suit, just to see that man in a suit. Anyway, yeah, I watched this at TCL in IMAX, where I didn't realize it premiered at the TCL, which I think I knew. I should have known that because anyway, but watched this at TCL. I absolutely loved the sets, the scenery, just the whole like the landscape of the movie, those vivid scenes of, you know, seeing the what would you call it, the like the gulch,
Alien.
the hills.
I guess gulch is probably the more accurate term.
Is okay, sorry, my Bluetooth just freaked out on me. So yeah, just seeing that landscape and seeing that scenery and those sets. I love how we got to go to different places. We started in those hills in that landscape. Went to we went to Fry's at one point. We went to, you know, movie studios.
Why did they have?
This is their last hurrah?
Seriously. I have a story about Fries, but continue with your.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, I really like this movie. I'm gonna be thinking about this movie for a few days.
My side story about Fries is I had a coworker order from them literally right before they ran out of business. And Fries literally sent them a like an email, I think, or something like that, where they're like, "Hey, we had to declare bankruptcy multiple times. We're not sending you the item or giving you the money back."
Well, damn. Well, damn.
Yeah, they literally sent they're like, we're not giving you your money back. We're not sending the item. We've declared bankruptcy.
Look, you understand, we need
times.
this money. There's a lot of loan sharks that are looking for us right now. Okay.
I kind of laughed and I was like, well, they are declaring bankruptcy. It said multiple times. So I'm like, it's not like they're gonna have your money. She and then like I was reading articles about it. They had thousands and thousands of people who had just ordered stuff. Nothing was delivered. Nothing. They just
This was
whatever was supposed to be mailed out was resold again, just for some.
this is the
petty
greatest
cash.
heist of all time.
Pretty
No one
much.
saw it coming.
Side note about fries as well. That fries that they go to in the movie, I don't know if it's the inside might have just been a set, because obviously fries, where would they have found the fries? Or it might have been another electronics store. But that fries that they go to, I pass by like almost every weekend. It's in Burbank, and it has the alien on the outside that looks like it crashed into it, and it's just vacant. They have the fries like sign covered, and it's in Burbank.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It would be in Burbank.
Sure, he got for sure. It was a cheap shooting location.
right, because literally nobody's ever in there or in that parking lot.
I just love that they went with fries, because then he was also the character stole equipment at multiple points, so it's like, going out of business anyway. The equipment
They're
needed
going
to
out of
be done
business
with.
anyway. Screw it. Who cares?
We know it's in your future, so like it's fine. The character did no
first-
wrong.
At first, when we first, let's just go into y'all. This is your spoiler territory. This is your spoiler alert. So we appreciate if you have not seen the movie and don't want to hear spoilers. We appreciate you tuning into this podcast, but turn it back on after you've watched the movie so you can hear all of our thoughts. But at first, when the movie started and OJ, he pulls out the flip phone, I was like, oh, does this take place in like 2006 or something? Because he had the flip phone.
Yeah, what was the deal with that? Like, why?
Some people have flip phones.
They don't really work though. No, because like even at my like dad's company in Chicago, they're like, you need 5G. We need to send you the schedule, but you need like a more advanced phone. Like, you can't look at me and tell me that a phone like that is
actually,
working in the desert like that. Like,
no,
it's got range.
You can still buy them just with 5G service, because like a lot of construction workers or like people who work in like that type of environment, like ranches and stuff, they build like heavy duty phones that are flip phones. They're advanced, but they're more built for the fact that you're going to be working a lot.
But he like
and outdoors.
He didn't even have like a Nokia phone going on. He just had some generic.
They're not Nokias. They're just regular phones. Like,
no, I'm saying I would
them.
believe it more if it was a Nokia flip phone, because those shit, I had one. That shit survives. That will.
Everybody
live.
knows about the brick. All right,
Yeah,
everyone knows the brick is
so, like,
indestructible, but that doesn't change the fact that he just has a regular.
He had
phone.
what looked like just a cheap phone. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought it was a little like later with the way things were presented at first. But then when Kiki Palmer's character comes in, Emerald Haywood, it showed like, oh, it is actually modern. She has a modern phone and she's, vaping too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which first, Jerome, you talked a little bit about their dynamic and kind of a teaser of your thoughts of how their dynamic was a little bit weird. What did you think of the dynamic between OJ and Emerald, played by Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer?
Yeah, it's the fact that
because she starts off. Sorry, I was gonna say because he starts off. Because at the beginning we see him and his father, their father dies after this freak like things fall from the sky.
But Keith David getting billing. I remember seeing like they were doing the billing or whatever for the movie, the opening credits, and I was like, "How the heck does he get billing? Is he going to do more than just the 2 seconds we just saw him? Because why?
That was me with Barbie Ferreira. She was on screen for 0.2 seconds.
I was excited to see her when I saw her name. I was like, "Oh, hey, Euphoria cast, all right, cool." And then her role in the movie is all of like 2 minutes, if that,
she's
on screen.
And then she gets murdered. Well, not murdered. She gets eaten by.
She doesn't do anything. She just sips, I think, like a slushy or something. It says one line, maybe two, and then she's gone for the rest of the
film. But anyway, sorry. Back to the brother and sister. But anyway, yeah, we see his perspective, and then the father dies, and then they're on this movie set, and then Emerald, she comes in late. And led to believe this is their dynamic. Like she's the one who's always like, you know, not too considerate of this business, and he is the one who's kind of like carrying it, even though she has all the facts and she knows like the whole spiel and everything. So
Well,
Well,
it's
it's
kind
that
of
she's
like
a people person because he knows it too. He's just not a people person. Like he's not
mhm.
very like outgoing as she is.
yeah, and she also like with the style because the dad kind of was doing both. He was the presenter and then helping with the ranching. So when he had the two kids, he just split it. He had one that was a presenter, and that's kind of why she went off and like she was like, "Oh, I'm an actress, I'm a singer, I do this and I do that." And he's just like, "Look, I deal with the horses." He split like his own, the father's own personality split in two with the two kids. There's a presenter who was like, "Let me talk loudly, let me talk about, you know, how this was my great grandfather, great grandfather, and everything like that." That's why it's like the dynamic I felt was like, I kind of agree there was a little weirdness at the beginning. Emerald annoyed me at the beginning. She was so annoying.
Same. I was like, oh,
She's
this is how your
like,
character's gonna be, Kiki.
it's like,
But
how can you sell dad's horse? How can you help fuck up a shoot that would have paid for dad's horse? Like, you can't like try to cry and then be one of the reasons why things didn't go well. You lost focus. You're just trying to sell your name. And she just seemed like kind of annoying and wasn't like listening to anything he was saying. He's like, "Hey, stay put. I got business." "Oh, what do you mean you got business? Why do I have to stay put?" It's like you have already fucked up once. Like that's why stay put.
but I noticed that even with all of her antics, all of her leaving at random times, he never once really got mad at her. It was almost like, you know, that's just how it's gonna be.
Well, I think that's to play into the idea of because the thematics of this movie is really interesting. The idea of trying to control something you can't control, and submission versus dominance, um, especially over things you can't control. Because it's like OJ in the beginning of the movie is a very submissive character. He doesn't really like speak up for himself. He's often very passive with most everything, both in life and like how he handles things. And then, once we hit the end of the movie where he's like confronting this alien, he's just like, nah, screw that. Like, I want this picture and I want it now, god dang it. And this is what we are doing. I don't care. Like, so it's like it's growth. It was like to see him like kind of grow as a character. um that being said, though, he's insane. I'm glad he grew as a character, but I'm like, no blood respect. So after the blood rain, those self-respecting black person would go back. They'd be like, nah, we're just glad to be alive
What do
now.
you mean after
We're
the
out.
fucking blood rain? After seeing the little thing in the sky, she was like, "Let's go." He's like, "No, I'm gonna stay." Be like, "The fuck no."
They should have just had the movie end there. The movie's called Nope. All right, let's go. We out. All right, let's do it. Credits.
Yeah, I just thought it was weird because I was like, it's not that I don't like Daniel Kaluuya's acting in this, but that low mumbling voice got on my nerves. I was just like, can you speak up? God damn, I can't hear anything you were saying.
I watched it in
What's the basic your voice?
I watched it in IMAX, and there were points where I'm like, can I have captions
I
on
watched
this?
it in the Dolby Cinema. Like the eight, like the audio.
I watched it in a non-fancy theater, but like
I'm
still.
just like, so I'm like, I couldn't hear you. I'm like, can you please speak up? God dang, this is frustrating.
I get it, and I but like I get why his character was like doing that. It's like the whole submissive thing. We're doing, remember where. It annoyed me during the shoot when he kept doing that. He's like, "Hey, don't touch the horse," and it's like they're gonna get fucking kicked in the face. Maybe like talk a
Right,
little bit
I was
louder.
expecting someone to get kicked in the face. I was like,
Yeah,
can
same.
you tell them with some authority not to get behind that horse? And he better be glad all that got kicked was the makeup bag, because that lady could have lost her entire jaw from that. I thought horses kick hard.
Same. I thought somebody was gonna get kicked in the face. I thought I saw like a man, because there was a man who was going like this. I thought we were gonna see blood come out like for a second, but
I think it was just sand in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was prepared because I was like, okay, things are escalating really quickly. Um, it was it was interesting to see that little like scene with the horses. I was ironically, I think it was literally the day before I was telling my sister and her wife, I'm like, I want to go horseback riding. I want to do this. I want to like go and like try horseback riding because I've never gone before. And my sister-in-law is like, yeah, I love horses. I want to do it too. Then we watched this movie. And I'm like, I don't want to be around horses anymore. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm
I
like,
still want a
they're
horseback
crazy.
ride. I think it'd be cool. And horses are like really awesome animals.
They're
They're so smart.
smart, but they're stupid at the same time. You know, they have this
It's more
thing.
like they're awkward. It's they're awkward animals.
No,
Like
they're
they want to do
stupid. They do
stuff
this
and they
thing called
can't do it.
you. I know you watched the Rooster Teeth thing where they do the cribbing, where they will just chew on stuff in front of them. They'll chew on a car, and then you throw a blanket over them. They think it's nighttime immediately, and they go to sleep. They're not
Yeah.
this.
Animals like cats and dogs do that. If you put them in their cage and then you put a blanket over them, they'll think it's nighttime and go to sleep.
That is an absolute lie. This little bastard does not do that. Snowball never did that.
You
She
put them
tore
in a
through his.
cage or do you leave them out?
No, and I had to take him to the vet. He's not chill at all.
Okay, that's the vet. That's different.
He doesn't know where the fuck we're going.
I feel
But the
like
whole
he
point
does.
is
I feel like he's on it. He's like,
horses
he
are
knows I only go in
smart.
the cage when you take me to this one place, so therefore I know for a fact where I'm going.
Point is, horses are smart and dumb, and it was well shown in that movie because there were multiple times where he's like, train the horses and they're very well trained and he's very good at it. But then he's like, all right, there was that one scene where he's like trying to get the horse to come to him. And then the horse is just standing there like, nah, I'm
I
gonna
feel
see
like
how
it's
this
more like
plays
that
out.
horse was like, I saw
Nope.
what happened to those
Right.
people. I'm not going out there. I don't give a damn what happens.
It kind of felt like
You can come out here and come get me, but I'm not coming out there to come to you until this thing is gone. And I can hear it. I got horse hearing. I know it's out there. I know it's up there.
I think that bothered. So there is a scene in the film where the alien. So Stephen Young's. Wow, I just got really mumbled there. Stephen Young's character is like married and has these kids, and he does this sideshow. He has a park in the middle of the desert where he's actually feeding the alien the horses. He buys the horses from OJ's character, and then he gives them to the alien feeding. He's like, my family's done this before. We're carrying on the tradition, blah, blah, blah. And then the alien comes early. And that's when that big scene happens where everybody gets eaten, all the humans. My thing was OJ ran underneath that covering and he was fine. The aliens didn't take up the wood, right? The wife and his kids were near that entrance. Why the hell would you not usher your child in further or be like, go in? When you see this thing massive coming, what the hell?
Well, also OJ though knew the danger of it. I think in their minds they were just out there. So like just like how it swept up over OJ and just flew him into the top, it probably just swept up and just picked them up before they had time to even react in any way, shape, or form other than.
But they've been watching this. But they've been watching this thing since his parents' time because that's what he said. He's like, it goes, it gets eaten, and they watch it because that whole crowd's there watching it, and they hear the horse and they see the zoop, and then they hear the horse yelling when it gets sucked up. So they're very aware of what it does because they send the horse out.
No, he said he saw it a month ago.
No, he was doing the show every Friday night.
Yeah, the practice. He wasn't actually like, I don't think they said that was their first live show at the park.
No, he didn't. Did he say that, Jonathan?
Jonathan, you might be.
This is why I gotta watch this movie again. But
well, I thought I heard him say this.
No, because he said
when they invited OJ and
when
Emerald,
Ghost,
like he was saying
when Ghost got out, the show was occurring, and he heard the crowd and the cheering.
Not at daytime, right? And was there anybody?
Because during the daytime, he did a little act. The kids did an alien dance. He gave his presentation, and he's like, at 6:15 every single Friday, it comes to eat.
But if that's the case, then how is it that nobody? Because if it came and just got a horse, nobody else has pictures of this thing. No one else took anything, or filmed it or whatever, because they said no cell phones. They didn't say no cameras.
They
Nobody's
said
talking
no
about it
cell
on the
phones. They said
internet,
no cameras, no cell phones. They told
but
everybody to put it
nobody's
away.
talking about it on the internet or anything. Because
Do you
like
know
as
how
far
many
as
alien conspiracies and stuff
I'm just
we've
saying,
had?
it's just
Go
like
to
I'll
the
watch. I'll
fun.
watch the movie a second time, and I'll take notes on what exactly the parameters
Yeah.
were. What exact
I'm
when
sure by
when
Monday it'll
the
be leaked, and I'll go
right.
ahead.
But regardless,
So,
that also goes to the thematics of the movie, though. You're forgetting the thematics of the movie is the hubris of man that they can control things they can't control, which is why they kept showing the chimp stuff, where it's like in their minds, it's like we got this chimp trained and he's not going to do anything. Then what happens? All these people, like all these people in this set dies. Same thing with this, where it's like I'm sure the wife and kids are just like, nah, it's under control, it's fine. And then they didn't expect it to flip on them and take everybody instead of the horrors, because they've done this a couple times.
I don't know. I
which
feel how I know there's an instinct fight or flight. I never understand how some people have that instinct of frozen. They don't
Because
move.
the
They fall.
body's in shock. It's the same thing where like
maybe
most
it's
people
like
can't
you're stuck
remember.
between fight and flight. Like you don't know which
Right.
one you're gonna do.
Your body is in, like, when you're in shock, like most people don't have that reaction to like instantly make a decision. Their brain is still trying to process what's happening before they could even make a decision.
I just wanted. What are you gonna say?
um, what did you guys think of that storyline, that backstory with him starring on this TV show with this chimp Gordy, and Gordy one day just attacks. It's Gordy's birthday. He attacks everyone. That's where the movie starts off. We see the chimp like eating people, basically.
Well, it's more like
I
eating
think
a
I think
face and then he's
right
beating
because
people.
right because the one woman, she still lived. She just got disfigured, but it looked like he like maybe killed the other man who was trying to like calm him down.
Yeah, him and the other woman who was like the mom character. Even though we don't see her body, I think she also died too.
Um, but what did you guys think of that whole
I
backstory
like the
on his
scene.
character?
I think it's filmed very well. I like the scene a lot. However, I think I think it's like it should have been like its own like short film or something, because that's the way it feels too. Every time they cut back to it, I'm like, I feel like I'm in a different movie. That a really good different movie, but a different movie.
I thought I was in a different movie altogether when I don't know if this happened for you guys, but the lights dimmed and they had the Universal logo, and then it goes into like this 24 days until, and then it's like a film by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
did you guys have that too?
I thought
Yeah.
that like
I thought I was in the wrong
I was
movie.
like, what the hell is going on? Are we doing? Well, see, what it was is like I went to see this in AMC, so we had like the gambit of trailers before every AMC movie. Then came the ABC, like AMC Dolby Cinema thing, and then after that, then Nicole Kidman came on, and I was like, and then it was like, also turn off your cell phone and turn off your thing. So I was like, oh my god, when are we gonna get to the movie? Then the Universal logo popped up, but then the Syncope logo popped up. I was like, I know, you have got to be kidding me. Is this another trailer?
So the thing I will say about this, I went to Regal, so I got a more fun one. Instead of Nicole Kidman being all serious and unnecessary. I don't like it because I'm worried it's gonna start having directors are going to start doing that, because originally, remember, trailers were at the end of films. That's why they were called trailers, because they were being part of the end. But they realized nobody's watching the trailers, so they started putting them in the front. I'm like, they're going to start doing that shit. Nobody's staying to see the director or the actors, who's this and that. So they're going to start having this like opening sequence to movies. And I'm like, oh, please don't do that. Don't do that. I did not like that part.
Well, to be fair, they already do that. Like they've been doing that for Christopher Nolan movies since The Dark Knight. So it's
I
not,
legit thought I was in the wrong movie, because the lights dimming is supposed to be your cue that the movie is starting.
Yeah, the movie
not that you're gonna watch another trailer.
I mean, because they did. Remember when we had a couple of movies when we worked at IMAX that they had like a sneak peek preview, like they did it for Dunkirk. I forget what the movie it was, but they did it for Dunkirk, where there was like, here's a sneak peek preview of Dunkirk, and it was like a full 5 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, when we had The Hobbit, they did that for Star Trek. believe.
Yeah, so it's like
No,
it's
and
nothing new. It's just the fact of like, man, can we get to this movie? Like, I'm trying
yeah,
to watch
pretty
this
much.
film.
What's funny with the
But
dimming of the
anyway,
lights when you mentioned that,
mhm.
so as I've often said before, I take migraine medication. I have to be careful in movie theaters because the big screen and the flashing lights and all that. When the lights started to dim, the screen hadn't changed yet for us. So the lights were just dimming, but there was no sound yet. Like they hadn't popped in the film yet to start the whole trailers, all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
like leaned over to my sister. I was like, did it get darker in here or like is something going on? And she's like, oh no, it got darker. I'm like, okay. I'm like, her wife was like, are you okay? I'm like, I thought for a second, like my eyes were starting to darken. Like when I get a bad migraine, things start
I'm
getting
going
dimmer.
blind.
I took the I took the migraine medication. I'm fine. But like for a split second, I'm like, oh shit, am I getting blurry eyed? Is something happening? Did I not take this medicine? Am I getting a migraine? What's going on? I was like, not at the beginning of this film.
Anyway,
But anyway, yeah, so it's like that was the first part. Second part of it too was that this they dedicate a lot of time to and I know it's part of the theming of the movie and the message of this movie. However, at the same time, or at least from what I believe, for all we know, Jordan Peele might say it's something completely different. But that being said, though, the other thing for me, and this is what I mean by there's a lot of ideas that feel like they just get dropped. This is a part of the story that is tied to none of our main characters. It's tied to a supporting character who we get very little time with of him as an adult. So I'm like, it feels like you've dedicated a lot of backstory to a character who, in the grand scheme of things, is just there to die and
Not
not really be like as important to the plot in the grand scheme of things compared to Daniel Kaluuya's
well,
character and Kiki Palmer's character.
he kind of was though, and the whole thing about that was that like when Daniel's character goes, this is his home base, this is his hunting ground, he thinks this is where he lives, the alien, the monster, whatever you want to call it. It was because of Ricky's character, or Ricky Park was the name of the character Steven Yeun played. He fed it, he made that area the grounds for it, and that's why he wanted to buy the dad's ranch so bad. He wanted to have this like space for it, almost keeping it as a pet. And I think the background showed that he came so close to this chimp that was killing everybody that it was like the chimp went to fist bump him, just like every other scene or every other episode they had filmed. And he's like, oh, I can tame this monster, I wasn't killed. He came up casually to me, the monkey dripping blood, like clearly I have the power to like tame this thing. And he was trying to by feeding it these horses and being like, hey, look, I brought you food, and I give you this land. But then it ended up turning against him because it's like, nah, I want more, you look kind of edible. So I think his character was actually very important because that's the only reason that creature stayed there, was because he kept getting fed by him. So without his character, the alien thingy probably would have moved on and find more humans to eat, gone to a bigger city. But he kept it there, almost like one of the horses. He didn't let it run wild. He like made sure to provide for it enough that it was like there. And then when he couldn't, he became the food himself.
That makes sense.
This
I do like this that the alien is an alien. Like it's not a UFO filled with little aliens. It's just no, the thing you
that
think is a saucer is the alien, and it's
yeah.
it's scary. And I'm like, that's a unique take on the idea of doing like a flying saucer type thing. I'm like, that's interesting and really cool. So I like that.
Did you I'll touch on Alex, the Ricky character, in that, while watching the movie, I was trying to put together, the backstory and the present day story for his character. And I think you make a good point about, he had this traumatic experience when he was a kid that kind of shaped him because he knew he was able to contain this monster. And so that kind of carried through with him as an adult. Also about like going on to, and also we don't see him swept up. We don't see him get swept up.
I'm pretty sure he got swept up. He was dead center. So I feel like
I thought
he was like the first that got
that's
swept
true.
up.
I thought that no, but well, we see the shadows of people, and he's just standing there. And did you see the shadow? Like there's
Yeah,
shadows
that
of
is
people
Yeah,
true.
I
like
saw
going.
their shadows and stuff. Or yeah, that's true. So he took them first. Maybe he was saving the best for last. He's like, I like that red suit.
I
Come
want
on
that
up here, big
him
fella.
as some red velvet.
I will say that wasn't us
But
too. Even got a little
The
like
red velvet for
something.
dessert. You know how it goes.
at one point I did think that there could be a way that he would come into the story later, but I guess that's kind of where his story ended.
Honestly, I did think that as well because there is a scene that is a scene where um Daniel Kaluuya's character goes to get the horse Lucky back, and then the alien comes and kind of fucks with him, and he passes out because he's kind of get tossed around inside that particular. The way he woke up, I almost assumed that he was going to see Steven Yeun's character there, trying to wake him up, being like, "Hey."
Mm.
I kind of assumed he was still going to be there, or he was going to see him somehow, but then we
I
just end
thought
up seeing
so
the horse.
too. I thought he was gonna be there, but then the horse was like, all right, he's gone. Come on, let's get the hell up out of here. Like, get me out of here. But also in hindsight, that explains also why, because he's like asking to buy, he's like, I wanted to lay a roadmap to buy one of my horses back. And you could see in his face that he's like, oh, okay. And I thought it was just him being selfish. He's like, no, I'm not gonna sell your horse back. But now it's like like after you finish the movie, you're like, oh no, it's probably because there is no horse to buy back because it got eaten by an alien. He's like, yeah, I already fed that one, so sorry. Like, there's no horse to give you, my guy.
Also, he said he sold like 11 of those horses, but there were none on the property. Like he didn't seem like he ever questioned like, hey, 11 horses need a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
Horses need quite a bit of space to live comfortably.
Well, you know
He
what it
doesn't
probably was?
clearly
His
have
dad
anything.
was probably the one who actually was doing the sales. So he probably didn't even really
No,
think about it.
he was selling them because Kiki Palmer's
What's
character
oh,
asked, "How
you know
many
what?
of
That's
Dad's
the other
horses have you
part.
sold?"
That's well, I just assumed that she meant like in general, like him and his dad. I didn't think it was like a lot of time had passed from when his dad died to that he because like selling 11 horses would have been like because it seems like he's very attached to them. So I don't imagine he would just do a bulk like here's 10 horses or here's 11
Well,
horses
it was
right
a
now. Like, you know what
six
I mean?
month span. I believe that's what I recall.
Okay.
It had been 6 months since their dad died.
Okay, got you. I did not. I must have missed that. Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Um, when I first when I first seen the trailer, everybody was looking up, so you assume that it's aliens, and then there's kind of reveal that no, the UFO is the alien. Did you guys think at one point, like I did, there would be there would be more to it in that, like there would be some sort of twist in that the alien wasn't what it seemed, or there was some bigger picture to it, or just going crazy here, the humans were the aliens, which somebody actually asked me, like when I after I watched the movie, like were they the aliens?
Which was the
So just
Twilight Zone episode. The humans were the monster. Monsters on Main Street.
oh hey.
Um, I kind of, I assumed it was an actual ship because I want to say it was the second trailer or something. She kept asking him, "What did you see? What did you see?" And there's moments in the trailer they showed kind of looked like he had gotten sucked up. So I was like, okay, it is a UFO. He somehow got on the ship and like it got to look at it. Um, but then when she's asking him that, it's mainly because he was able to look up and see it and all that, or like he kind of saw through it's zipping around in the sky. So originally I thought it was going to be something like that. He was going to go on there and he's going to see like all this like gruesome stuff they're doing to the horses or the people, and everything like that, but he doesn't get sucked up. So I was wrong on that part, and I found that a little interesting. Usually they'll have that scene where they're like get in, but then they reveal that like, hey, he's like, it's not a UFO, it's an actual alien. What I saw, it's a living thing.
Yeah, I did not expect any more twist past just like when they were like, oh, it's not no, it's alive, like it's a thing because like
Now it's
it
just a
would be
matter
kind
of
of
if they're going to defeat it or not.
right, because it's like either it's like because the assumption is that it's a regular UFO, like you've heard, so it's like you're expecting little people, which is why when the kids pranked them and they were just alien creatures, I was like, oh shoot, we're
That
doing
was
this now.
creepy.
All right,
That
we're
was
already starting
creepy.
here.
Yeah.
It was really, and they were effectively creepy. And then when he's hanging from the thing, I was like, yeah, that's a black man, because it's like his reaction. Oh shoot, bam! Just threw a punch
He's like, it was
immediately.
Ricky's kids.
I'm like, hey, listen, I respect that. I respect that, man, because I probably just would have ran in general.
That was a clean hit. That was a clean hit.
It
too.
was a clean hit, but it's just like so I'm like, okay, so it's not little people, or at least if they are, they're maybe in the ship or whatever, and it'd be a little cliche for us to have that scene. But then when they get sucked up and they're just getting devoured, like, and I'm just like, oh, that's different. What are they going somewhere? Like, what's happening? And then they just start dropping out like blood and like all the stuff. And I was just like, oh, they're devouring those people. Those people are dead. Like, no, that thing's a
Thank you.
creature.
And then
I
you
was like,
find
that's
out,
cool.
and then you find out that the first shot that we see, one of the first shots that we see in the movie, is the view
Inside of it
that you
Which
see
I'm
when
like,
you're getting
why
beamed
does it
up.
look like a neon club inside of it? What the hell's going on in there?
It looked like an air vent to me. I was like, what? Are we crawling through an air vent or something? That's why I was like, oh, it's an alien ship. We're crawling
Yeah,
through it.
that's what I thought too. But funny enough, I think I am curious what they ate first, because like when the dad dies, they're dropping quarters and stuff like that. So
I had just
like,
assumed those
where
were
did
the
they like? What
remnants
was
of.
their first meal that
I
they
had just
spit
assumed
out?
those were like the remnants of what people like had in their pockets.
No, it is. I'm just saying, like, I'm like, and this isn't anything that I wanted the movie to show me. This is just my own brain, like, thinking. I'm like, I'm curious, like, where they struck first, because that implies they ate some people first before they started getting fed horses like every day. So I'm like, that's interesting to me. I wonder where they were, like, where their little like hunting ground was first before they came over here to this little gulch.
Maybe they tried human and they're like, ugh, gross. They're like all this
I
stuff.
will I will applaud the trailer for the bait and switch, because
now that's being true, because I think Jordan Peele did say that, like, when the trailer came out and people were complaining, the second one came out, people were complaining, oh, you gave away too much. Jordan Peele was like, trust me, no, it hasn't. Like,
yes.
there's more to come that you have
Well,
not seen in this trailer.
I hadn't even seen the second trailer. I had only watched the first trailer, and there was a point where it shows Keke Palmer getting sucked up, getting beamed up. But in the movie, she only flies up like a couple feet. Yeah. And so I had figured that she had gotten beamed up, and I'm like, okay, how's she gonna get back? Is she gonna die? Is she gonna get back out? So that subverted my expectations, which I kind of like.
Glad TMZ guy died.
Yeah, which was
not that TMZ people should die, but I'm just saying, in general, she's telling you need to leave. Like, it looks like a dangerous situation. You go over there, and then they're trying to help you, and you still like, get my camera. At that point, I would have been like, you know what, forget it.
He did. He did. He's like,
anyway. So
he's like, all right, man, like, you're gonna die, so I'm gonna back. He did. He's like,
right.
He dropped that body.
No, before he was still trying for a long time. After the first, hey, get my camera, I would have been like, all right, well, clearly you don't want to be saved.
I did not think that he was an actual TMZ reporter, because when Keke Palmer says, F, he's with TMZ, I thought she was just like, that was her assumption. And like, me and the audience laughed. And I thought that he was like some YouTube alien hunter or something.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, but Wikipedia lists him as a TMZ reporter, so I'll trust them.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. But there was like something, she's like, oh shit, it's TMZ. And I was like, are you, because she was calling him Ancient Alien Guys first. Or she called him that website, which had the conspiracy people, which would have been a fine name. And then she went straight to like the pop culture one. And I was like, oh, I think she's being for real about it then, because she already had like the fake nickname of the other people. And they had just talked about it a little before that. The guy who helped them record Michael Wincott's character, Antlers Holst. He
Hmm.
was like, we need to get this because now the news sees it, and you know what happens when the news gets out. People start coming. They want to do their own thing. They want to do their own report and all that stuff. So it's she's like, oh crap, it's the first one. And TMZ is TMZ. Let's just say that much. They would
I think it's
they would absolutely do
interesting.
that.
I want to know more about this creature. Like, I think it's cool, especially because I think there was a lot of creative choices with it. Like the first one being that, like, when it's flying, it's just always open. So it's like that's when you're hearing the screams of people like as it's flying. I'm like, that's a really neat detail and really interesting. And then also the fact that it can't consume like objects that aren't organic,
Uh-huh.
and that's how we can track it with the flags. I was like, that's really smart. That's really cool. Just not just from a story standpoint, but from a script writing standpoint. I'm like, that's a neat way to track a UFO. Why not like put something
And
that has a
it's
dangling thing?
it spits out the coins, it spits out the keys. We didn't
Yeah,
see
like
any
I'm like, that's really
clothes.
cool.
Did we? We
I
didn't see
think it
any
could
like
eat
clothes.
clothes. Like clothes are probably like easier than something that's solid like metal or like
Mm.
plastic items.
Ceramic, yeah, because it spit out everything else. I like when it spit out the horse, and he's like, he just kind of looks away from it when he.
Yeah.
So that part I was talking about, where me and my sister were like, nope, is when he opens that car door. And as soon as he goes for the handle, me and her at the same time were like, nope, 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 nope. And he
In my
like
Mm-hmm.
head,
looks
I
up,
was
he's
like,
like,
"What are you doing? You know it's over
no.
you. You don't need to look at it to know that. You know
My
for a
it was
fact
one of
it's
my
up
favorite
there."
scenes because like as soon as we were like, nope, nope, he's like, nope. And then the horse, the plastic horse that they had originally fed him, came crashing through his window. And what does this man do? Locks his car door. I like couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, I mean, I feel like that's not gonna help, but it's like something, I guess. Something makes you
Although
feel secure.
I did think about you, Jonathan, because we talked about Nope during our 2022 expectations episode way back in January,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned this was you were excited to see what like pop culture song was going to be turned horrified in for this movie. And I was so in that scene when they're playing the "I wear my sunglasses at night." I was like, Jonathan's probably loving this right now because it was creepy. It was so
I
creepy to hear
know.
that song slowed down. I was like, I didn't realize how creepy this song can be if you slow it down to like a crawl. It's like
Yeah,
freaky.
Any
and
song
you
can be
and
creepy.
right, and usually in his movies, it's been the like '90s like R&B or hip hop, but he went a different route this time.
Get Out didn't have one, but I guess it didn't need one. They played Redbone by
Oh,
They
that's
played
true.
a lot of more
Donald Glover,
instrumental
but it was
music.
just normal
Mhm.
They
Redbone.
played a lot of more instrumental music. But
Side note that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, but I'm looking at the filmography of the guy who plays um, uh, Gordy the ape or the chimpanzee in the movie, and he played King Kong in Kong Skull Island, and he also played Goblin, and he also played Goblin in The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey.
Cool. Like nice. They got like a actual CG artist to do the motion capture instead of just
Yeah,
making a CG ape. And
um,
he
I
has like
mean
a lot of credits.
he went. It looks CGI from in it too.
well,
Well,
it
he
was
kept
CG.
saying,
It's just they did the he did the movements of it so they could like
"Oh,
map the CG to his movements and stuff like that. They did the same thing for Planet of the
He
Apes too. It's why the
he
Planet of the
did
Apes
the
movies look so good.
oh, and he was the Groot mocap performer in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, neat. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
so this." I mean, he wasn't kidding. The monkey has a good, or the ape. Is he an ape or
Yeah, in this case,
Chimp.
chimpanzees are apes.
chimpanzees are ape? The ape had an incredible track record. Then, like, there is a scene way at the beginning where they're speaking to him, and he's kind of reliving everything, and he's talking about it, and he's like, he's raving about the monkey or the ape, sorry. And he's talking about it. He's like, yeah, he worked on this, he worked on this guy, and it's like, and for a moment I was like, are you still talking about The ape? Are you still talking
Oh
about the
no,
chimpanzee?
he was talking about the SNL actor. You're
No,
saying
no,
like
no. He was talking about the monkey.
no, he's talking about SNL. He was saying the SNL did a sketch of the tragedy,
Chris
and he was
Kattan.
talking about Chris Kattan, who
Was he
played
talking
in
about Chris
this
Kattan? I,
hypothetical SNL scenario. Chris Kattan played Gordy,
oh,
like the
I
monkey.
thought that scene came after where he was just gushing about the monkey. I was like, are you talking about the monkey? Well, he should have been more impressed with the monkey. That monkey has a serious
I
like
don't
list
think he's gonna
behind
be
it.
impressed with the monkey that killed all of his cast members. Cast
Look,
mates.
trauma fucks you up, all right, in some ways. You can be
Um,
impressed by the murderous monkey.
Another side note while we're on to like the
Murder monkey.
facts of the movie. No. Switching gears a little bit, but on that same storyline. So Jesse Plemons was originally cast in this movie, but he turned it down for another movie. I'm not sure. Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon. That's the movie that he turned this one down for.
Oh, it's
But
Martin
he was originally
Scorsese film.
cast. Okay. He was originally cast, I'm assuming, in the Steven Yeun role.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably
No, I
is.
How do
think
you
he was
think he would
supposed.
have been?
I think he was supposed to play OJ.
Yeah, sure. I think it is funny they do mention his name. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Like
As
the
like, your name's OJ. He's like, yeah, Otis Jr. It's like,
Everybody
I
takes.
don't think. I honestly think OJ probably doesn't even like think about it. Like think about OJ Simpson at all when he thinks about his name. He's probably just like, I don't care. You know, that's my name. That's what they call me my entire life.
A lot
I'm
of
not gonna
like
change it
younger
because it's
people
tied to another
don't
Smith person.
know him anymore. So like that name, well, it was all older people in that scene at that moment, yes, but like a lot of younger people don't know OJ
We're
anymore
probably
or
the
like what
last
happened.
generation that actually knows about OJ Simpson because the
Somebody,
trial was still like happening during when we were
yeah, when we were
alive. Like we
kids.
were kids, but still.
Somebody was asking about like why it seems like younger generations don't know anything, why the Gen Zs don't know anything about like about millennials and what happened then or that like that. And somebody's like, because millennials had the I love the 90s and I love the 80s and I love the 70s from VH1. And I was like, fuck yeah, I love that show so much. They went, I think it started, I love the 60s, I love the 70s, I love the 80s and 90s. And they even got, even though it was like
They did
2010 by the time
2000s.
they did the 2000s. And then they had um the best of, they had the I loved and then the best of, and they went through all these decades, and then they're finally like the best of this week. They got so far to like they were literally doing like week wrap ups of what happened, which I was like, that's a little much. But if I didn't, I watched every single one of them. It was a lot, but
Also, it's
like
more
I was
like
still watching them.
millennials. We didn't have the internet. Like when during the earliest points of the internet, all it was for was information. It wasn't for like what it is now, where more kids are more invested in like filming themselves doing every dumb dance they can think of than actually looking up anything to actually educate them on anything that has happened past the generation they've lived in.
I mean,
So
we all still filmed ourselves. We just had those crappy like huge cameras still.
that's different.
And then we got, because
but I
like
see what you mean.
I got tapes of me and my cousin like being stupid, doing like reality show stupid stuff. So like
Yeah, but you couldn't produce the
we
volume
couldn't,
kids can
yeah.
now.
Oh no.
Kids could like they have in their phone
No,
easily 13 to 1500 videos
I
of
take care of
them doing
this
TikTok
social media
dances.
stuff. I can't always do it. Like there are days I'm like, oh crap, did I post anything today? And I'm like, do I have to? I'm like, which of course I should do, but it's like, yeah, I mean, people like to kind of talk about influencers sometimes of like, oh, they don't really do anything. They do a lot. They actually do quite a bit, and
Oh no,
like
it's a
they,
full-time job.
yeah, and
Anybody who's like
it's,
wants to be an influencer for real, it's like you damn near 40 hours, if that.
oh
Trying to
yeah,
do
I
that.
literally spend, unless I have some other plans, I literally spend Saturday editing videos and then taking out the parts for social media and stuff and then editing them in different formats to fit on that social platform. It's like that's a whole day, and I get maybe about 6 clips, 5. I think 6 is generous, like 5 clips. And then I'm like, all right, I can't look at our faces anymore. staring at our faces. But back on topic.
Anyway, so Nope is all right.
I have to ask, did they do well? Okay, I'll ask this question and then we'll talk about character of Angel, because I feel like we didn't really talk about him. But and we also didn't talk about Antlers, the cinematographer. But anyway, okay.
Do you want to exit out early, Jerome? We can talk about.
No, I'm just saying, Antlers. There's not much to talk about. He's in the he's the only reason he's in the movie maybe 2 times more than Barbie Ferreira is, which means he got 4 minutes on screen compared to the 2 she got. He's barely in the movie too.
But he played a much more important role though.
He did. Did you guys ever? Because he's the reason they get the money shot was because he has a film without electronic. He has the winding film, which is how.
But then it got destroyed when he got eaten though.
No, there was the original tape. The guy changed
big
out.
IMAX.
That he took back. Yeah, that's right.
And then he had his own little handheld.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So there were 2
They
cameras.
never go back to that though either. They never address if he actually, because I was expecting, because the way they loaded it, there was one point where it was a very quick shot where the film was not loaded in there. I don't know if that was a mistake when they filmed it, that it wasn't like the reel wasn't properly put in so they could put in the camera, and that was a mistake on set, that they were just like, well, screw it, no one will notice. Or if that was like on purpose, because if it was on purpose, then maybe he didn't film anything, because he tells them like, we don't deserve the impossible shot. Like, he's saying, like, which is also his way of saying this isn't for us. Like, this is beyond us as human beings.
But then like almost immediately he's like the light, and then runs and gets eaten because he wants to film a shot inside.
And again, I thought that plot point, like when he did that though, I was like, okay, that's a neat plot point. So what's going to happen is they're going to escape, and then that camera is going to be spit out because the alien can't eat it. And the reel is going to be found somewhere else. They're going to have the footage, which would be really cool.
They blew up the monster.
Well, with air though.
Okay.
So,
Did they? Okay. So, because when it was floating down, did the balloon still look full? Did the balloon pop in him? Did he pop?
No, the balloon popped.
I think the balloon popped
of the alien.
Okay, because for a minute I couldn't tell, because again they kept it at a distance, and then you just see this floating. And I'm like, okay, the alien definitely something popped.
The alien popped and the balloon popped.
Kill the alien exactly? Is it that the pressure from the balloon just like helped explode everything else that was inside the alien?
Because it was like inside of its throat. Yeah, whatever the equivalent of whatever the throat would be. So I imagine that small compacted, like when that pops, it has an effect on. Look at me trying to alien biology. Like, well, this is how.
The thing is, like I was talking about it too, but the thing with the alien, it resembles a jellyfish so much. Now, jellyfish are very dangerous. They can have stingers. They can actually wrap you pretty tightly and cut off circulation. That's how they feed sometimes. And jellyfish are actually some mystery still to science, because they don't understand how some of them are translucent. They're like, how are their organs still translucent? But if you can remove them, you can see. And like, so, or somebody, they glow. And so that kind of what reminded me of that, where it's like the jellyfish outside is actually very dangerous to jellyfish. Even when it's on land, it can still hurt you pretty bad. But once inside, it's very vulnerable. Like you could just pop it from the inside. That's what I imagine, because it reminded me of a jellyfish so much, and I'm like, just looks like one to me. And so that's what I assumed. Like it had gotten into
full, like, and it was when it was in, which it reminded me of Dragon Ball Z, when it was just like, y'all thought this was it. You haven't even seen my final form. Yeah, and then it just was curtains floating in the sky.
I know you like never-ending curtains that would.
Yeah, and then the streamers came out, that I guess was his mouth, and just he's like, "You like these streamers? Come on in here." Come on in here.
That's what reminded me. It's like, the tentacles, the waving ones, because there's the jellyfish and I was like, all right, it's kind of like a jellyfish.
But you know what though? It was unique. It's better than just making like it's more creative than just making a regular monster or just leaving it in UFO form. The fact that it has another form was really neat and really cool. Which also makes me think: do either you like? Because I'm curious. You guys' take on the ending. Do you think OJ's alive, or do you think she's hallucinating? Like she's imagining that?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I just assumed he was alive. I didn't even think about that.
Because in my
I
mind, I was
think
like, is he alive? Or because he doesn't interact. It's not like he comes over there or calls to her or
yeah,
does
but
the
he
like
he
eye
never
thing.
does.
Like,
He never.
but it's just the fact of he's just standing there after she's had this great victory and this really traumatic experience. So I'm like, is he real or is she just like thinking about him? And that's the visual
Well, I
representation of
mean,
her thinking about him.
even when she was like the house was getting rained in blood, and like he was trying to get them into the van. He didn't react. He was just like, get in the van, get in the van, get in the van. Um, I think he was alive mainly because he was the only kind of
He knew to
smart one.
yeah,
He
he knew
knew
to do
as soon
everything
as he
right. He knew
dropped his
not to
head.
look up. He knew
Yeah.
not to
Well,
look up
it's just
because the
also
only way he would have got sucked up is if he would have looked up.
So he
true.
maintained eye contact enough where the monster was focused on him, and then he probably just dropped his eyes. And then the monster was like, all right, fine. And then she made all that noise with the motorcycle, so it started chasing her. And he
Well,
can't
because
run
also
very
it
fast. Yeah.
said he was underneath that sign that said "on yonder." So I was like, are they saying he's like in heaven, and that's what she's thinking in her head, or something?
I saw
And
that
I'm
sign,
like,
but I
I
didn't.
could
Ugh.
be reading into it more than it actually is. It might just be
No,
that OJ's okay, but that
Jordan,
was just where
if
my
you were
head
to
went.
read into any movie, it would be a Jordan Peele movie.
That's fair too.
Yeah.
Also, Jordan Peele also likes to have those little bits of a open ending where you're like, all right, I see what you
Because
Now I
at
did
gotta
first
think
I
there.
about
thought
that.
she was looking at that the monster had like healed itself, that it like popped, but then it was like, ah, it's all good, and then put itself back together. And she's like, oh shoot, we're all gonna die because all these people behind me are also gonna
Also,
get eaten.
really quick, he couldn't. He twisted his ankle. Remember, he limped, and he actually had to have the horse lie down to get on him. So it's not like he could hop off the horse and go to her. He was
Oh,
already
that's
like
fair.
he
That's a
couldn't
fair
get off the
point. Yeah.
horse, and like so I was a
And the
little
horse
annoyed
name
she
is
didn't.
Lucky,
Mhm.
so
I was a little
That's
annoyed she
true.
didn't grab the picture because I was like, all these people
That's
are
your
coming to the
proof.
because
news
that
report. I was like, grab it.
yeah, but at that point it doesn't matter because the news
And
cameras and all that stuff are behind them. They're getting the shot like in its live video, and the
Yeah, but they're
alien's just
getting the
sitting up
dead
there.
body. They're
So
seeing the remains because it popped.
but
It
even
popped.
still, like they're gonna like that's transmitting to probably the world, so the world already sees it. So having a picture of it probably doesn't mean as much anymore
It's
as it
local
did.
news. They have a moment.
Well,
You
local
didn't tell
news
me
will,
global news is there
yes,
already.
but local news, like even most local news sites have an internet presence, which means that as soon as that article goes up, that video is going to be all over the internet and going to spread around and become international worldwide news.
question: did they do the thing that Disney does that we've talked about many times on this podcast, where they make Keke Palmer's character a lesbian, but not where she mentioned?
Yes, very much
Okay.
so.
Because they
because she says hi to that one lady and she mentions that she has sex with her therapist, which I was like, oh, okay. And then when she mentions, but anyway, I'm like, oh, she's a woman. Okay, cool. Whatever.
right, but then it's never brought up again.
But then it's never brought up again. And I was like, they did pull a Disney representation. They're like, look, she's gay. She says she has sex with women, kind of. So
They had that
due
one
diligence.
scene at the end of Beauty and the Beast with the one character. They finally danced together.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, listen. I mean, I'm just saying. Look, Keke Palmer went and stole that horse with rainbow flags. I mean, it couldn't be more clear. I'm just saying.
I thought at one point I thought she was gonna mention when he was like or when somebody was like, oh, the monster or he doesn't like the flags. I thought she was gonna mention, well, let's wrap ourselves in rainbow flags and then we'll get him.
Although someone did mention, I did see someone's video where they did mention they thought that had meaning too, that like this all white creature can consume everything except these like all like multicolored flags, as in like it's trying to consume all of the people of color, but it can't because when we're all together, it's hard to consume. But when we're separated and it's just us one at a time, it can get, whatever. And I was like, I feel like that's
too
reaching a bit.
much. I feel like
that's reaching.
No, because at the time when it sucks up the horse, it technically is black. It's a dark gray or going on.
The white horse.
The white horse. Oh, I was saying the UFO was. I mean, technically, it didn't consume.
Oh, you mean like all the horses.
Oh, I thought you meant the
colors.
Yeah, and then
no,
also,
I meant the fake
you were talking
horse with the
fake
flags.
horse.
Yeah.
I think it was just a horse.
I still think it's reaching though. Like I still think that take on it is a bit reaching a bit. Because I'm like, Jordan Peele can get that meticulous because with Get Out, like he has said and confirmed that he intentionally had what's her face, the villain in that movie, eat the cereal separated from the milk because the cereal had color and the milk was white. So he's like, that was on purpose. So I could like, it's maybe possible, but unless Jordan Peele himself says that, I feel like that's just reaching because Jordan Peele made Get Out. And so now, no matter what movie he makes, forever, people will try and analyze every little piece of it to find like some type of racial meaning in it.
I think it just showed that it wasn't able to swallow the horse because it was still so attached. And if the flags were out that much, it was almost like a warning, like, hey, look, he's not able to swallow it completely. It was stuck in there, it was lodged.
Well, I thought it was just a way for them to track it so that they could find it, because it's like they can't see it. That's what it's too fast. And then she's like, it's tracking. They didn't know. They didn't know.
They didn't know that it was eating it. They assumed it was just abductions at the time of when the horse went.
And they still thought it was abductions at that time too.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
They were probably thinking like that, but I don't think it had to do with more like, oh yeah, if we're all together, because like, yeah, that feels like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like you're trying to put a lot of stock into that when really it just seems like it more shows like he can't swallow inanimate objects. That's it.
Yeah. Although I do to talk about Angel a little bit. I thought it was cool how he does the barbed wire. Although I thought it was going to cut him in half. I was scared for Angel because when it sucked him up, I was like, that's tension pulling on you. You're wrapped around a barbed wire fence. I'm surprised you didn't get cut in half completely.
In real life, it probably would have been a little more fatal, or probably would have been a little more.
And then he gets dropped out the sky. I was like, you're dead. And then when they show him alive, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, no, he didn't get sucked all the way in because remember he attached himself to the barbed wire fence and
I just mean that he's like. That probably brought the barbed wire fence to be taut around his side, and then they drop him out the sky because it didn't suck him up. So I was like, okay, if the barbed wire didn't kill you and cut you in half, the fall probably is like had you cracked your skull on the desert floor.
Technically, he wrapped himself in a tarp first around the waist. He wrapped the tarp, and the reason his hands were hurting was because he was wrapping it around his waist, the tarp, and then the barbed wire.
Yeah,
I will say the force probably would have snapped that barbed wire through him and the tarp and everything. Yeah, so the force of just being sucked up.
Yeah,
but I also like his character
but I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was funny.
He was very charismatic. Yeah,
very charismatic. Yeah, I before the movie started, I thought he was good. Before I knew Keke Palmer was gay in the movie, seeing his character in the trailers, I was like, oh, he's the love interest. Okay, cool. He's a handsome guy. And he's like, and then when he's like, yeah, I just broke up my girlfriend. I'm like, oh snap, he's single. He's available.
But didn't Keke Palmer say she was a lesbian before that?
No, but then I was like, but then when Barbie Ferreira shows up, I was like, oh, that's how she ties in. She gets with Angel, and they're gonna because they work at the same store together. And then the director was like, oh, that's cute. You think Barbie has more scenes?
Pops in, she's like, hey.
I'm willing to bet she probably did have more scenes, but she probably was filming Euphoria at the same time, to be honest.
But she was barely in the second season of Euphoria either, so what was she doing?
That was for different reasons.
Well, they probably, honestly, she was probably more in it because he was still watching everything from like from Fry's. So she was probably in it because she even asked, is OJ
maybe the
okay?
Scenes got cut.
I think they did because they wanted you to focus on the main four.
Well, I think she only said is OJ okay because he was saying OJ, like he was screaming about OJ on the thing.
But he was
'Cause he's
also
on the
being like,
phone
"Get
with
the
her, but I
bug,
don't
get the
think.
bug off the camera."
Yeah. Also, I can't stop looking. Cheddar just looks so comfy back there. He's just chilling.
The arm down.
Yeah,
He
he
good?
just looks like he's just like, yeah.
He good, Cheddar? Yeah, he good. Thank you for not tearing up my chair this episode.
But no, Angel was good. I liked him. I liked his character. I thought he was interesting to be around, like be a part of the crew, because it's like, we got OJ, the quiet stoic one, Emerald, the loud obnoxious one, and then you got Angel, the wild card. No one knows what he's about.
So my sister, when we were watching it, because he was watching the security cameras, and my sister was like, I'd be so mad if all that. I'm like, her brother's almost getting sucked up into an alien. You gonna focus that he's watching the feed right now? That's where your mind is. I'm like, if that happens, that's where your mind's gonna be. I'm about to die, but let's go get mad at the poor tech guy right now. Like, focus.
Also, we said the alien can't eat inanimate objects. He ate the shit out of that house, though. Like the alien was just.
I
like,
think it was just
all
like
right, I've
a
had
tornado
enough.
style.
Y'all need to leave me alone.
Maybe because it's wood and it's like biodegradable.
That is technically a natural element. He spat out like
Mhm.
the nickel, the keys, the
Why did it spit
scooter.
out the blood though? I wonder. Was that an
For-
Well, it's an
for
animal.
fun.
Maybe it was an intimidation.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think
so.
I think it was its blood because it spat out that horse, and the horse was lodged because people were passing it. Remember? I think it
Mhm.
tore in the throat, and that maybe that was his blood
Maybe that's a fair point. It could
because
have been the alien's blood.
he spits out all this blood, and then the horse falls, and
I
then
like
it
that
starts
we've
flying
just
away.
gendered this alien, by the way. Like, it's a he for sure. Like we know for a fact it's a he.
Well, all like hurricanes and stuff are she. So maybe the alien can be a he.
No, that's not true. There's like there he's and she's. South Carolina, we've had Hurricane Hugo and Hurricane.
Well, most
something else.
hurricanes.
Most
hurricanes though are named after women. Yeah.
I don't know. It comes in, makes a mess, and then leaves. That sounds pretty manly to me.
I don't know. You like no one will top Sandy. All right. So
Sandy did come in. She came in full force.
yeah.
I don't know. I tend to call inanimate objects he, and that actually comes from the fact that I was taught English by people whose English was their second language, which often sometimes why I sound the way I sound. Everybody I learned to talk from, English was their second language, and in Spanish language, often many objects have like gender, like la and el. So I tend to just add a gender to things. I would say, and I usually just use the he. Feels easier for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I
same
call
thing in French. There's il and l for the
yeah.
he
So
and she.
I kind of just sometimes will just gender random things, and people are like, "Why is it a he?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. Just can we continue with the? Why you leave me alone?" I'm like, this is how I just talk sometimes.
Final thoughts though, Jonathan.
Yes.
Hit us up with some final thoughts for Nope.
And
a grade. Sorry.
Yes. Like I said at the beginning, I very much enjoyed this movie. I am looking forward to seeing other people's thoughts on it, different podcasts, different YouTube reviews. I'm excited for that. I love the cast. I love the fact that we have all of our main characters really are people of color. Are the only white person that comes in and has something to say is really the cinematographer, and he just comes in at the end really.
Which I don't think he's white. I think he's
I
don't know what. I know he's not like black or Hispanic.
He's
might be
English and Italian.
He's Italian.
Okay. I was like, so he's white.
He's white.
It's just he has a tan, is what it is.
Which at the time when they called him, he was in like a jungly, rainforesty area. because he was like recording all
And
those
then
animal documentaries or something.
and also you have Stephen Yoon's wife. She had some lines in there. And Barbie, can't forget about Barbie. She's so like a most
I think
important
she's Latino
character.
though. She's
Oh,
of
that's right. She
Brazilian
is.
descent.
She is Brazilian. I forget her descent. That's
Y'all
true.
need to move
Never
on from
mind.
Barbie. Let it
Not
go.
Barbie. She's important.
We
You're the
care
only
about
Yeah,
Barbie.
this movie wouldn't be the same without
you
Barbie.
two are the only one that have
No.
outrage that Barbie's only in there for a minute. So
I didn't have
Nobody
outrage.
else
I was
owns
just
Keith David.
confused.
Like she
I
beat
was
Keith
just
David by
confused.
like a few minutes, a few seconds. So she should feel proud.
But anyway, she also Letitia Wright, when she was in Ready Player One, she had more lines than her.
She didn't even
Anyway,
get billing. She was Letitia Wright was in the background. Unless you were paying attention, you would have missed her completely. She didn't get any lines.
but anyway, yeah, I loved the cast. And this movie just took me on a journey. We had so many elements, so many locations, so much attention. I love the way Jordan Peele uses music at the right time and silence at the right time. And it's not just the type of silence when you're watching a horror film where it's like, okay, you see the character look around, it's silent, and then they breathe. And then something pops up. It's not that type of silence. Sure, we had like one or two of those quote unquote traditional jump scares in this film, but they were few and far between. He used more of the, the theming, the setting, the reactions of people, even the like some of the CGI elements. And nowadays, I don't typically get like scared during films that use a lot of CGI, because I'm like, this is fake. But this was really well done. The cinematography was on point, and I believe the cinematographer is the same cinematographer that did Dunkirk and Inception. Maybe, what's his name? Cinematographer Hoyt Van. Yeah, he did. What did he do? He did
I'm about to say, because
Spectre,
Wally Pfister did Inception.
Ad Astra, Interstellar. That's what he did. Interstellar and Dunkirk and Tenet. So basically, he's worked with Christopher Nolan for everything. So yeah, and he's gonna do Open. That's why they had the trailer. He's gonna do Oppenheimer. That's why they had the trailer beforehand. So anyway, yeah, the cinematography was great, and CGI was great. Cast was great. The comedic elements were great as well. I laughed a few times. I feel like not as much as I did Us. I did actually like Us. I know y'all had some sort of feelings towards it, but I actually really enjoyed Us. But yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'm gonna give it an A+.
I will say, just with Us, it's not that I didn't enjoy the film. One, I got distracted by the bunnies; they were really cute. But two, it just
I remember that.
Yeah, I kept getting distracted by the bunnies. It was more.
And you were. I remember when we were watching it, you were like pointing out one that was doing something.
He had so it was an all white bunny, but he had like long black ears only. So that was the only black part of him. I was like, that's so ridiculous little. Like it looks like somebody attached other ears to him or something. I will say with Us, just because how great and well thought out Get Out was, it seemed just like Us was very generic, was very like second season of a show where it's just like you're just giving me something so that I know you're still there. With this movie, it felt different. And I think another thing that Us lacked was Get Out was relatable to people of color, even in like certain humors where his best friend's like, you're going to these white people's countryside household. What do you think's gonna happen, man? It's nothing good. And it was the same way with this movie, with Nope, because we all have the reaction where people are like, "Oh, go for." I'm like, "Nope." And I've told people, I'm like, "Look, I have survived this long somehow. If you think I'm going in there." And so it was a lot more
into the door.
Yeah, I was like, it's a lot more relatable, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see myself with this character. When things are getting sucked up in the sky, I'm out. I'm like, let's go. Nope, no, I'm out. And so I think it was just easier to relate. It felt like something that was definitely like they were smart. They didn't go down to the basement when the killer was chasing them style. And I did really just love everything in this film, and it did catch me by surprise. And my Apple Watch called me out talking about my heart rate going up, spiking multiple times, and I'm trying to
You have
get into
scientific
this.
evidence that you were
Yeah,
into
I
this
was
movie.
like, shh, I'm trying to watch the movie. Stop beeping. I get it.
It's like you're having a heart attack. Go and like, you need to
It's
leave
like
right now.
you
Get the heart
haven't,
medicine.
you haven't moved. Why is your heartbeat faster? Like, shh, I'm trying to watch the
I'm
movie.
trying to save your life. Oh my
there
God,
were-
is that Barbie Ferreira? I know she was in this movie.
yeah, my heart rate did not peak for that. But also, I also just love Steven Yeun, like I said multiple times. Nothing wrong with him in that cowboy suit either. And just all their acting was really good, and I felt like on point with the film. The mumbling thing, I agree, was a little annoying at the beginning, where he's just like mumble. Even when he's talking to his sister, it's like, just turn your head a little bit, man. Just turn your head a little bit. It's the sound waves that way. I really love that twist where it was like, this is the actual monster. This is the actual thing. Because we always think about aliens being maybe like 7 feet, 8 feet taller than us or something like that, or having this expansion. Nobody thinks about aliens being that big where they're that
Also,
huge.
most people think of aliens as being humanoid, but it's
Yeah.
like, why would you just assume that? Like, they could be
Well,
anything.
There's an actual thing. It's because we can't imagine something that doesn't have a human form, really. I mean, even with like animals, we put that in there. They're like, oh, that's their little elbows. It's not. The anatomy of an
They have
animal.
different bone structure.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
anatomy of like a dog to us is like very different. This is not their elbow. Everything's different. So humans just do that in nature. I like how they. Well, my brain went to like jellyfish right away. So we just all do that. Um, but I did enjoy this film way more than I thought I would. I think he did it really well. It was more thought out. It was very different. He did the suspense really well. And I would give this movie an A, and I would even see it again, surprisingly. And I just thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I don't have too many negative things to say about it. Um, I did find the sister annoying at times, where I was like, "You're not helping the situation." Maybe like pull back a little bit. But I guess that was also the contrast. It was supposed to be the difference in personality. It was so different. It was like, but I definitely give this movie an A.
Yeah, I would give this movie I would give it a B probably. Um B B to B minus. The reason why is because like I like this movie. I think it's fun. I love the thematics. I think the cinematography is really good. Um but it's just I feel like there's a lot of characterization I wish I would have had more with Angel, more with the cinematographer, even more with Stephen Yeun's character, even though we get to know a lot about him, just because they're so like, for their importance in the movie to have a lot more weight, especially the cinematographer, because I feel like he was pretty important, and didn't get to learn that much about him. He was very cryptic, and we didn't really get to see him a lot. But that's just because they had so much other stuff they had to do in other parts of the movie. So the time balancing just didn't work out in that way. That being said, though, the things I do like shine really well. I do like the main cast. I think the creature is really cool. And the fact that you don't even know it's a creature for the longest part of the time, and getting to that twist, I think is really good. So that was really sharp. And so it's like, I would enjoy watching this movie just as a like pleasurable watch. But I think as far as a script goes, I just feel like there's like a few more like runs it could have done for some of these supporting characters compared to the main characters, for us to get a little more time with them. But that's all just like,
I will say that
that's just my
you had the same criticism for Thor: Love and Thunder.
funny
Exact
enough.
same
Yes.
criticism.
That's
It's the
true.
exact same criticism.
That is true.
Run
Yeah,
it back
I like it's
side
the
by side.
same thing.
I was like, are we?
Um
Is this deja
but
vu?
also,
Yeah, I
speaking
was
of,
like,
you were talking about them like not running from or them like, not doing the cliche stuff. uh I don't know if you guys got this, but for me, one of the trailers played before this movie was Barbarian, and the new movie with Bill Skarsgård, and I don't know who the black actress is, but she plays the main character. um and the whole that trailer is like, they're like, I guess she rents an Airbnb, and he happens to already be in it, and then she finds the secret corridor, and I'm like, I'm like, okay, and this is the part where you call the police and then you
Oh, I didn't
leave
have
the
that
area.
trailer.
And then she walks in there trying to find Bill Skarsgård. And I'm like, no, black woman, this is not the time. Go call 911 and leave. Do not stay here. You drove here. You could drive
You know
yourself
what?
away.
I blame the new Candyman for that, because the black man went down to the basement, but the black woman was perfectly fine. She said nope and closed the door to the creepy dark basement, after so many murders happening. But now they're like, oh well, she's got to do it too. No, 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 no.
Like
Black
this,
women are
so I
smarter
was
than
just
this.
like, it's funny that this trailer would play before this movie, where it's a movie filled with black people who are like, oh no, I see the writing on the wall. Nah, I'm good. Like, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I'm out. Take what I can and go. Um, so all right, two A's and a B. I think it was just. I think sometimes you ask a lot for the side characters, but you have to remember they are just side characters.
It's more just like, if you're gonna make them like matter so much, you gotta have like, give us time with these people, or else I don't care what happens to them. And I didn't care that the cinematographer got 8. Like I was just like, whatever. Okay, bye,
Well,
character I
but
barely knew.
you weren't really supposed to care. He's a weird dude. He was just there to film, and he did what he wanted to do. He filmed. I mean, a lot of creative people are just weird. I mean,
Yeah,
that's their backstory. They're just weird.
In Thor's case, the problem was just that it's like, clearly you wanted to do, like, they did do more interesting things with them, and then they cut it out the movie because there was a 4-hour cut they couldn't put out in theaters, so they cut it out. This movie, it was intentionally, their scenes were not in the movie because we had other things to do, and but I wish they had been in there. The same, like, for both.
Well, I think they
But
weren't so focused on just because they didn't have initial connections to the aliens, like Yen's character and OJ's character. But
I think they wanted to use the side characters to push the narrative for the main characters forward. I think that's why they didn't elaborate on there.
Because if they hadn't had the main characters, they probably would, the side characters, they probably just would have left. But because that one side character installed the cameras properly, everything ended up going from there. But anyway, social. Jonathan, go.
Yes, you can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can also follow us at The First Ones to Die, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that fun stuff. You can also email us, The First Ones to Die at gmail.com. We'd love to hear anything that you'd like to say to us. Ask a question, let us know what you're watching, give us a recommendation on what to review next. And yeah.
And you can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok, as well as the podcast TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of, scenes from our video versions. I am switching accounts because there was an issue with our original one. So I will go ahead and post a new one, which is still just going to be The First Ones to Die, just an adjusted little name. But I will go ahead and let everybody know that on Instagram what the proper name is now. And Jerome, what about you?
you can find me at Not Jerome Red on Instagram, as well as at RoboZoom Media and at Jerome_the_show to see other things I am working on creatively. Also, if you want to follow us on YouTube, where you can get all types of extra content, stuff like all of our video versions of all of our podcasts, gaming content, vlogs, possibly this D&D stuff soon. So, be on the lookout for that and other things. Go on over to the YouTube at The First Ones to Die. And of course, follow us on all our social medias at The First Ones to Die. That includes Twitter, Facebook, everything. And you can find audio versions of all the podcasts where all the podcast places can be found. Stuff like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, so on and so forth. And also, if you'd like to be a guest on this podcast, I know we didn't say this last week, but if you would like to do that, few caveats. First of all, if you are not within the Seattle area, you do need to you need to have your own recording equipment to record your own voice wherever you are located. If you are in the Seattle area, message us. Let us know, at the first ones die at gmail.com. You can email us, tell us you want to be on the podcast. If you're in the Seattle area, we'll try and arrange possibly to do it in person, and that sort of thing. So let us know if you want to be a guest in this podcast by sending us an email or hitting us up on our social medias as well, DMing us and stuff like that.
Yes. And that's it for now. Until next week, where we will have something for you.
Something.
Yeah,
that
we
we'll
should
be doing.
we should probably take a look at that calendar.
Yeah. I took a look at it. Anyway, we'll figure this out.
We'll take care of that.
Off mic. We'll see you all
Anyway.
next week.
Have a good night and or day and or morning. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Just bye.